An atheist's paradise? The notion of an atheist's paradise is often used by critics to describe a society where secularism and moral relativism prevail. In such a society, traditional religious and moral frameworks are replaced by a more individualistic and often hedonistic approach to life. Proponents of this view argue that this environment allows for a greater emphasis on personal freedom, autonomy, and the rejection of moral absolutism. Arguments for an atheist's paradise. Freedom from religious constraints. In an atheist's paradise, individuals are free from religious constraints and the fear of divine punishment. This freedom allows people to explore different ethical frameworks, prioritize personal happiness, and make choices without the guilt or fear often associated with religious doctrine. This perspective is rooted in the belief that humans are capable of moral reasoning without the need for religious guidance. Embrace of humanism and rationality. Many atheists argue that a secular society allows for a more humanistic approach to morality, where ethical decisions are based on reason, empathy, and a commitment to the well-being of others. From this perspective, moral decisions are grounded in the practical outcomes of actions, rather than adherence to religious dogma. Celebration of diversity and tolerance. A secular, relativistic society may be more inclusive and tolerant of diverse beliefs and lifestyles. Without rigid religious norms dictating acceptable behavior, there is greater room for pluralism, cultural exchange, and the acceptance of differences. This can lead to a more open and dynamic society, where individuals are encouraged to express themselves freely. Criticism of moral decay and the atheist's paradise. While some view the shift towards secularism and relativism as a positive development, others see it as a sign of societal decline. Critics argue that abandoning traditional moral values leads to a range of negative consequences: erosion of social cohesion and order. Critics argue that a decline in shared moral values undermines social cohesion and trust. In a society where individuals are guided primarily by personal preferences rather than a common moral framework, there is a risk of increased conflict, lawlessness, and social fragmentation. Without a shared sense of right and wrong, it becomes difficult to establish and maintain social norms and institutions that promote stability and order. Rise in self-centeredness and hedonism. The focus on personal autonomy and freedom from religious constraints can lead to a culture of self-centeredness and hedonism. Critics argue that this mentality encourages individuals to prioritize their desires and pleasures over communal well-being and responsibility. As a result, social obligations, community bonds, and a sense of duty to others may be weakened. Moral relativism as a path to ethical ambiguity. Opponents of moral relativism contend that it creates a slippery slope towards ethical ambiguity, where virtually any action can be justified based on individual beliefs or societal trends. This can lead to the normalization of behaviors once considered morally unacceptable, such as dishonesty, infidelity, and even criminality. The lack of moral absolutes is seen as a dangerous trend that undermines the foundation of ethical behavior. Broader societal implications. The debate over moral decay and the rise of secularism reflects broader societal questions about the role of religion, ethics, and community in shaping human behavior. The shift towards a more secular and relativistic society has significant implications for various aspects of life: impact on families and communities. The decline of traditional moral values is often linked to changes in family structures and community dynamics. Critics argue that the erosion of these values contributes to a weakening of family bonds and a decline in communal engagement. In contrast, proponents of secularism argue that new forms of family and community can emerge, rooted in mutual respect and shared interests rather than religious obligations. Challenges to governance and law. The shift towards moral relativism poses challenges for governance and the rule of law. In a society where there is no consensus on fundamental ethical principles, creating and enforcing laws that reflect shared values becomes more difficult. This can lead to a fragmented legal system and increased political polarization as different groups advocate for different moral frameworks. Potential for new moral frameworks. Despite concerns about moral decay, some argue that a secular society offers an opportunity to develop new moral frameworks that are more inclusive, flexible, and adaptable to contemporary challenges. By embracing humanism, rationality, and empathy, it is possible to build a society that promotes ethical behavior without relying on religious doctrine. Conclusion. The perceived decay of morals and rules in contemporary society is a complex and contentious issue, reflecting broader debates about the role of religion, secularism, and morality in shaping human behavior. While some view this trend as an atheist's paradise, offering greater freedom and individual autonomy, others see it as a dangerous departure from the ethical foundations that have historically underpinned social order and cohesion. As society continues to grapple with these changes, the challenge lies in finding a balance between personal freedom and communal responsibility, and in developing ethical frameworks that promote both individual fulfillment and social harmony.